Hello guys. So let's get into question number 4 of ICAI Intermediate Mock Test Paper for Auditing. So question number 4. Your firm of chartered accountants has been appointed as auditor of a nationalized bank. Explain how you will proceed to carry out the audit of provisions and contingencies. Okay. So you have been appointed as the auditor of a nationalized bank. How will you deal with audit of provisions and contingencies? So first give the heading. If you are a wise kid, if you are an intelligent kid, you're going to give heading for each and every answer and underline that heading. First one, loan classification and complying with circulars. So what all do you do in this first one? Check if provisioning norms followed by the bank are in line with the applicable updated circulars. So every bank will have certain circulars which are updated and which are issued by Banking Regulation Authority, the RBI. So just check if whatever circulars that the bank is taking as basis for its provisioning purposes, whether all the circulars are updated. Okay, and the next one. Obtain a clear understanding on how bank computes provision on standard assets and non-performing assets. Here for convenience sake I've written NPAs. Please don't write NPAs in exam, write non-performing assets and then in bracket NPAs. And from second time onwards you can keep referring it to as NPAs. So first of all, obtain as to an understanding as to how bank computes provision on standard assets and on non-performing assets, which is NPAs. And then check the basis of classification of all the loans and receivables as to how the bank classifies it into standard assets, substandard assets, doubtful assets, loss assets and non-performing assets. So first of all, understand the basis of how bank classifies its loans and receivables, its loan book into all these different types of assets, which is standard asset, substandard asset, doubtful asset, loss asset and non-performing asset. Once you have understood this classification, verify, since you're auditor, you need to verify for yourself on sample basis whether the classification which the bank follows is actually happening correctly in practical real-time basis. So verify the loan classification exercise in line with the above policy on sample basis. Okay, so this is on loan classification and complying with circulars. The next one, general ledger and tax provision review. Once you understand the side heading, you're going to easily get the answer. So first one, general ledger. First of all, get the breakup of all the loans, different types of loans, say standard assets, substandard assets, NPAs, all those loans, get the breakup of all that. And then on the other side, check with your general ledger whether this breakup is tallying with whatever is a balance which is shown in the general ledger. Okay, so one side take up the breakup of standard assets, NPAs, substandard assets, loans, everything. I mean all the different types of doubtful assets and loss assets. So all those assets you take the breakup of it, and then on the other side check it with the general ledger whether the balances are actually matching or not. Next, take the tax provision workings, tax provision computation from the bank and check with your P&L all the items in the P&L whether it has been considered for your tax provision working purposes. Whatever is to be disallowed has been rightly disallowed. Whatever is to be allowed, all those expenses which are to be allowed, whether they have been correctly allowed. So just check that. And the last point is, now whatever we are seeing is with respect to provisioning for your loans and receivables. The loans and receivables of the bank. With respect to other provisions, other expenses provisions, check with the provisioning policy of the bank and obtain an explanation from management with respect to the correctness and completeness of provisioning for all those other expense provisions. Okay, so just a summary of it. When you're doing an audit of provisions, audit of a bank with respect to provisions and contingencies, the first point that you'll check is check if the provisioning norms which are followed by the bank are in line with the updated recent circulars issued by the Banking Authority or RBI. 2. Obtain a clear understanding on how bank computes provision on standard assets and non-performing assets. Point number 3. Check the basis of classification of loans and receivables into standard, substandard, doubtful, loss and non-performing assets. And point number 4. Verify the loan classification which you understood in the above point on a sample basis, whether it is in line with company's policy on a sample basis. Next paragraph, it is on general ledger and tax provision review. First of all, get the breakup of all the different types of loans, all the different types of classification of loans, and try to match it with your general ledger. And obtain the tax provision computation of the bank and try to match it whether with all the items which are debited and credited in your P&L account. And third point is with respect to other expense provisions, understand the policy of the bank and obtain a clear explanation from the bank authorities, from management, with respect to the correctness and completeness of such provision. Okay, so let's move on to part B of question 4. State clearly the objective of the auditor as per SA 706. Also define emphasis of matter paragraph and other matter paragraph. So when they have given SA 706, they are very clear that they want you to write what is that SA's full name. So it's very important you give that SA's name as a heading. SA 706 revised. Emphasis of matter paragraphs and other matter paragraphs in the independent auditor's report. So this should be your heading. Okay, so what does this essay speak about? It just speaks about two things. As an auditor, you have completely audited the financial statements. You have got a clear idea of the financial statements. Okay, you have already formed an opinion on the financial statements. Once after this, in your auditor's report, you want to convey points to the users of the financial statements. So there are two things. One, those matters, a matter which you think, which is already clearly disclosed in the financial statements, which you think is going to be of great use for the user, which is going to be relevant for the user with respect to gaining a fundamental understanding of the financial statements, which is fundamental to the user's understanding of financial statements. Those matters come in emphasis of matter paragraphs. And the next one is those matters, this paragraph includes all those matters apart from those which are already disclosed in the financial statements. The matters which you think are relevant for the user's understanding of audit, auditor's responsibilities, or the auditor's report. Okay, so emphasis of matter paragraph is more on the financial statements, which is going to be a matter which, although appropriately presented and disclosed in the financial statements, that is of such importance that it is going to act fundamental to the user's understanding of the financial statements. All these matters come under the emphasis of matter paragraph of the auditor's report. Okay, other matters paragraph. other matter paragraph, it consists of a matter. It is a paragraph which consists of a matter. Which includes matters which includes other than those which are disclosed in the financial statements, presented or disclosed in the financial statements, which the auditor believes is fundamental to the user's understanding of audits, which is relevant for users' understanding of audit or auditor's responsibilities or the auditor's report. So that is on SA 706, which is SA 706 revised, emphasis of matter paragraphs and other matter paragraphs in the TCAP's independent auditor's report. Okay, next one. So jumping on to question C of question number 4. ABC & Co is an audit firm having partners Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, chartered accountants. Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C are holding appointment as auditor in 4, 6 and 10 companies respectively. Okay, so A is having 4 companies, B is signing for 6 companies and C is signing for 10 companies. Okay, provide the maximum number of audits remaining in the name of ABC & Co. Provide the maximum number of audits remaining in the name of individual partners Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C. Can ABC accept the appointment as an auditor in 60 private? Okay, so before we get deep into this question, the question is just speaking about disqualification and qualification of auditors. Okay, so now when a question is like this, you need to clearly state the provision. So where will you go for the provision for this? The provision is in section 141. Excuse me. Yeah. So the provision is in section 141, subsection 3 of Companies Act 2013. So what does it say? It is on disqualification of auditors. It says that no person shall be eligible for appointment as an auditor of a company if he is in full-time employment elsewhere. Okay. So this guy is working from morning 10 to 6 in some other company and evening he is coming and signing a financials. That is not possible. If you are in full-time employment elsewhere, you cannot sign. Point number 2, a person or, apart from that, apart from full-time employment, or a person or a partner of a firm holding appointment as its auditor if such person or partner is at the date of such appointment or reappointment holding appointment as an auditor of more than 20 companies. In case as an auditor, if you're holding appointment or reappointment of as auditor of 20 companies, then you will not be eligible to act as an auditor anywhere elsewhere. You are already having 20 companies in your kitty, so you cannot be auditor for more than those companies. But this 20 companies does not include, see here, it does not include one-person companies, dormant companies, small companies, and private companies having paid up share capital less than 100 crores. So all the small category of companies, they're saying 20 companies, but in those 20 companies, these are all not included. What are they? One-person companies, dormant companies, small companies, and private companies having paid up capital of less than 100 crores. So typically all the small companies, those companies, even you can act as auditor, and those companies will not come into this classification of these 20 companies, this bracket of 20 companies. These companies will not come in. Okay, so if in a firm there are say 3 partners, each partner can hold appointment as auditor of 20 company audits. Okay, 20 companies. So as a firm, totally how many audits can they handle? They can handle 60 company audits, right? So that is the first point. Provide the maximum number of audits remaining in the name of ABC and Co. So the total number of audits, the maximum number of audits remaining in the name of ABC and Co. The total is 60 companies. So currently they are having 4 plus 6 plus 10 is equal to 20 companies already in their hand. So logically the balance number of companies, the balance maximum number of audits remaining in the name of ABC Limited is 60 minus 20 is equal to 40 companies. Provide the maximum number of audits in the name of individual partners Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C. Mr. A is already being auditor of 4 companies, so the balance for him is 20 minus 4 is equal to 16. Mr. B is already audited in 6 companies, so the balance number of audits for him is, company audits for him is 20 minus 6 is equal to 14 companies, and Mr. C for him 20 minus 10 is equal to 10 companies. Can ABC and Co accept appointment as, okay, so before I come to this point, let me make it very clear. For example, a person is acting as an auditor in more than say in more than one audit firm. A person is acting as a partner in more than one audit firm. Mr. A is a partner in ABC Limited as well as in ABC and Co as well as in XYZ and Co. So in those cases, the total number of audits Mr. A can handle is still 20 only. The maximum number of audits will be dependent only on the individual and not on the firm. It is only on the individual. So Mr. A, for example, he is already handling some 12 audits in ABC and Co. Then the number of audits that he can handle in XYZ and Co is only 8. Okay, and in this bracket of 20 companies, does all your proprietary concerns, partnership firms, do all they come in? No. Please be very clear that all that doesn't come in. They are speaking only of company audits. Okay, and that too not including one-person companies, small companies, dormant companies, private companies having paid up capital of less than 100 crores. So if it is a public company having paid up capital of less than 100 crores, then it will be included in your 20 companies. It is only private companies. Okay, private companies having less than paid up capital of 20 crores are only not included in 141 subsection 3, the bracket of 20. Okay, can ABC and Co accept the appointment as auditor in 60 private companies having paid up share capital less than 100 crore, 2 small companies and 1 dormant company? Perfect. So private companies having paid up share capital of less than 100 crores, they can have any number of companies. So not 60, even they can have 600 companies in their audit, in their firm. That is no problem. Even 2 small companies are also here. So small companies also not counted in that 20. Dormant companies are also not counted in that 20. So here there is no problem at all. They can definitely have appointment in 60 private limited companies having paid up share capital less than 100 crores, 2 small companies and 1 dormant company. No problem. Would your answer be different if out of those 60 private companies, 45 companies are having paid up share capital of rupees 110 crore each? Yes, here it is a problem because the private companies are having paid up share capital of more than 100 crores. In that case, they can have what are the total maximum number of audits remaining in the company's name? The total audits which is remaining is only 40. Okay, so it is already 60 minus 4 plus 6 plus 10 is equal to 20, which is 60 minus 20 is equal to 40. So now they cannot take appointment in 45 companies having paid up share capital of 110 crores each. No, that is not possible. They can only take appointment in 40 companies only. So the 5 companies they'll have to forego. They cannot take appointment because then they'll be rendered ineligible for appointment as auditors under section 141 subsection 3 of Companies Act 2013.